Hey, this is Raulh. Please act right. You know how men always tell other men don't date single mothers? Well, there's many reasons why they give that advice. Take a look at these two women. They're both single mothers. But other than them both being baby mamas, do you know why you should avoid both of them? Trust me, it's not what you think it is. And of course, you can't tell by just looking at the pictures. So let's investigate, shall we? Baby mama number one.
To my girls and to my girls only, date the nice guy. Do you hear me? Date the nice guy.
So why do you think a woman is coming on social media telling other women to date nice guys?
Date the nice guy. Leave them toxic men alone. And let me tell you why.
Because more than likely she was dating toxic men in her younger years. So if you had to guess her age, what age do you think she is? You think right around 30 years old? You know, when they say the wall cometh? It's amazing how all of a sudden they want to date nice guys then.
I started dating this guy back in 2023. Met him while I was out minding my business. Was not looking for anybody. Just having a good time with my girls. Met him. Fast forward, we started dating, going out. He was planning dates. When I tell you every week, I was somewhere at least twice a week. Anybody know me? I'm a homebody. But I was living for it. I was glad like I had a man that was stepping up, doing stuff. Wasn't asking me where you want to go, what restaurant you like just making plans. Love that.
So he fulfilled the fairy tale of a woman saying that she wants a man who takes charge. Cool.
3 months into the dating, he actually ended up buying me this ring and asking me to be his girlfriend.
He took you out for 3 months, bought you a ring, and asked you to be his girlfriend. So he's showing that he's really serious about you. Okay.
Of course I said yes at the time. I was so excited. I was like, yes.
You said yes at the time. Uh-oh.
I even told my best friend, told my sister, mama, everybody. I was so excited.
Wait for it.
But shortly after, I was like, I don't know. He's too nice.
And there it is.
We don't argue, blah, blah, blah. It's just too perfect. It's just too much. Too perfect, too perfect. I don't like it.
Now let that sink in, fellas. She doesn't like it because they're not arguing.
That was a toxic in me that I need to work on.
Now who in their right mind, get it, right mind, wants to argue all the time?
So I actually ended up cutting things off with him.
Big surprise.
Fast forward, I started dating other people, going out.
Meaning she went back to the streets.
And I shortly realized, there was nothing out there for me. The guys I was dating were the same old guys. The same typical guys didn't want to open the door for you.
So you thought going back to the streets you was going to find better than the good guy you already had? Really?
Want to go 50-50 with you on everything.
She's saying she started missing the good guy's wallet.
Just guys that did not know how to love or even receive love. And I was over it. I was like, I'm not going for it. I don't want to do it no more.
So let me get this right. So you were once in the streets where guys didn't treat you well. You left the streets and you started dating a good guy who treated you well. So you had to go back to the streets to realize that guys in the streets who never treated you well in the first place are still not going to treat you well? Okay.
So towards the end of 2024, I was out at a brunch with my friends, and I actually ended up seeing him there. And we ended up talking, reconnecting, chit-chatting, etc. Just having a good time. Not thinking too much of it. Really didn't pursue anything after that, him or me. We kind of would talk here and there, but nothing serious. Fast forward a couple months, maybe I'm going to say maybe 2 months after that.
Let me guess. You realized your youth clock was ticking.
I ended up hitting him up because I was sick, and me and my oldest son was sick.
Take notes, fellas. Her and her oldest son was sick, which means that she has more than one kid. Also, she called him the good guy. Why didn't she call her oldest kid's father?
And I had asked him, I said, hey, do you mind getting us something to eat? Me and the kids, and getting us some medicine.
Now keep in mind, this is the good guy that she dumped to go back to the streets. And then the good guy hasn't heard from her in months. And what does the good guy do?
Do you mind? And he was like, no, not at all. I was like, I'll send you the money. He was like, okay, cool. So he goes, gets us what we want, gets us medicine, brings it back. I was like, hey, how much it was? He was like, don't worry about it. Or I don't remember, something like that. And I was like, okay, I see where we're going with this.
In other words, the good guy was like, here I come to save the day.
I see what you're doing. But thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You didn't have to spend any of your money, so I'm sure you did appreciate it.
So fast forward, next day he ended up texting me, and he was like, "Hey, how are you feeling? How are your son feeling?" And I was like, "Well," I said, "not feeling good. He's not feeling good." And he was like, "Well, I can bring you some vapor rub for your chest." And I was like, "No, you don't have to." And he was like, "No, I want to. I don't mind bringing it. I'm gonna be out. I don't mind." So he brings the vapor rub. When he comes, he gives me a hug, and I'm like, "Oh, you smell good." Like, if you know, you know. I love a man that smells good.
Girl, please. He smelled the same way he did when you first dated him. The reason you're mentioning it now is because this good guy is clueless, and you know that's to your advantage.
And he texts me later on that day after he leaves. I go lay down. He texts me, he's like, "Can I drop something by your house? Or can I bring something by or something like that?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." Not even thinking. He shows up with this bear. It actually still smells like him. He sprayed his cologne all over this bear, and it still smells like him. Right now, still smells like him. And it's been over, I'm gonna say, a month or so since he's actually left, or so, and it still smells like him. It smells so good. I'm like,
And what else has he done to show you that he's a good guy?
he got me this necklace, which I freaking adore. I love it, love it, love it, love it. And then he bought me this tennis bracelet from Pandora, which I absolutely love, and a few other things that I love and adore. And so he came over one day to bring me something. We were standing outside on my back patio, and we were just talking, chit-chatting.
Buying and bringing you more stuff. Go on.
And this right here, how I knew, I was like, this is a good man. Like, I already knew he was a good man, but he just keeps amazing me. Like, he keeps doing things, and it's like, this cannot be real. And I was telling him about the next morning I had to get up, take the kids to
Kids, as in plural.
school, and it was cold outside, and I had to get up and go warm my car up, etc. And he's like, "I can come over in the morning, warm your car up, no problem." I was like, "No, don't do that. Like, it ain't that deep. I get up and warm the car up. It's gonna be early in the morning." He texts me the next morning and was like, "Good morning, beautiful." I was like, "Good morning." And he's like, "Do me a favor." I said, "Yes." And he said, "Bring your keys to the door." What? When I tell y'all I was smiling so hard, because what do you mean bring my keys to the door? What are you talking about? Why are you outside?
Anybody else notice that he's done a whole lot for her, but she hasn't mentioned not one thing that she's done for him in return? And this is where most guys make their mistake. And I once upon a time was one of them. I just didn't know any better, which is why I make these videos, to keep you good guys from making the same mistakes. Now, don't get me wrong. It's okay to do this stuff for the right woman, but the right woman generally does not come from a past relationships that were toxic. I think Jay-Z said it best in the song Cry. Once a good girl's going bad, she's gone forever.
Once a good girl's going bad, she's gone forever.
That simply means once she's been in the streets and exposed to chaos and toxic relationships, she can never function with a man who is stable and has a peaceful home.
But I'm not going to argue with you. So I go take my keys to the door. He goes up there and warms my car up. Not only did he come over at 6 o'clock that morning to make sure my car was heated before we got in it, because we leave around 6:30ish or so to get into the bus stop. He stays, waits, heats my car up, comes and bring me my keys back. After he gets my car heated, waiting on us to get dressed and ready, because we're not ready. We literally had just woke up. Brings my keys back, and then he leaves.
Fellas, this is what you do for your wife or a girlfriend who has already proven she is worthy of it. Not for a woman that you showed you were a good guy and she turned around and dumped you because you were too nice.
I've never, in my 34 years of living, have ever had a man to do that for me. Ever. And I've been married before. Never have I ever had that. Never.
And those are the magic words right there. She said, "I have never, ever, ever had a man treat me like this before." I'm a good guy, and I know a lot of good guys who have gone all out for women, knowing full well that they have come from chaotic and toxic relationships. And soon after she said those words, it goes downhill from there. Why? Because they don't know how to function with a man that treats them well. This is when she'll start to purposely do things to get on your last nerves to make you mad so that you start arguing with her. She'll try everything she can, like start doing the total opposite of everything that you say, just so she can make you angry, so she can get you to start arguing with her, because that's what she's used to. You notice she said she was once married before? Why did that marriage end? Do you think there's a strong possibility that her ex-husband was tired of her toxic ways? Remember what she said. She said, I was once toxic, and she was with men that didn't treat her well. And this was the first time that a man ever treated her with respect. This young man, if he stays with her or even marries her, there's a 97% chance he's headed for disaster. On top of that, he will have wasted a lot of his time and his money on her and those kids that belong to somebody else. For his sake, I hope for the first time in a situation like this, I really hope I'm wrong. Now, remember in the beginning of the video, I asked you what do these two women have in common other than them both being single mothers. Let's see if you can figure it out before I tell you by listening to single mama number 2.
So my daughter's father tells me today that for spring break, he's taking our daughter, we have one daughter together, to Disneyland for 5 days.
They share one child together, and notice she said Disneyland for 5 days, not a neighborhood carnival.
And I guess it was going to be a surprise, or it's going to be a surprise, or was, whatever. So I'm like, awesome, you know, I'm going to go shopping, get her a couple outfits, you know, I'll get her a new bathing suit, da-da-da. I'm thinking about all these things, and then I'm thinking, wait, just her? Because she has 5 other siblings.
Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 5 other siblings. Whoa.
So I had to ask him, you know, everybody else is invited too, right? And he looked at me like I was crazy and said, no, those aren't my kids.
Right.
We were together for years. You were their stepfather.
And once you two broke up, his obligation to your stepkids ended, even though he was never really obligated to those stepkids in the first place. That's their father's job.
You're gonna take your daughter to Disneyland and not take her siblings?
Yeah.
Do you know how upset that would make them?
Well, they won't be upset if you pay for all of your 5 kids' tickets and hotel expenses. But of course, the money factor hasn't crossed your mind because it's not you paying for the trip.
Not doing it. She's not going unless her siblings can go. Period.
So instead of her thinking of a way to tell the other kids why the father of the one daughter, who doesn't owe them to take them on the trip, she decides to cancel the father and daughter Disneyland trip altogether. For the women who have children, this is another reason why men tell other men don't date women with children from other men. But wait, listen to what she does in order to try to include her other 5 children on the Disneyland trip.
Yes, I am the mother whose daughter was invited to Disneyland by her father's side of the family.
Which means that the daughter's father's family wants to spend time with her, who I'm sure they don't want to go on a trip to Disneyland with your other 5 kids that are not related to them.
She has 5 other siblings, so I told him that she cannot go unless they are taking the rest of the siblings. Granted, they are not his kids, but he was their stepfather at one point. Okay?
So what?
So now, a little time has passed. He has thought about it. So he says, if I can give him $1,000.
So he had to bring up the extra expense. You couldn't figure that out on your own, that it was going to cost them 5 times more money to take your 5 kids on the trip.
That he will take the 5. So that means I get a week vacation. I get a whole week mom free to myself.
You see how she quickly made this about her? I thought this trip was about the kid.
So I need everybody. I need everybody.
No, she's not about to beg complete strangers for $1,000.
So I need everybody. I need everybody to help me make $1,000 to give to him.
What do you mean make $1,000? You mean give you $1,000. Did you all notice that she never asked the public to help raise $1,000 for the other 5 kids to go on the trip when it was the man that was paying for the trip? Now when the money has to come out of her pocket, now all of a sudden she realizes that money is an issue. On top of that, she has the nerve to beg strangers on TikTok for money so she doesn't have to pay it out of her pocket. Wow.
So, I will put my Cash App in the description of this video.
And of course, I'm not going to show or allow her Cash App to be said on here. But here's my question, that the rest of you probably already asking too. Where's the other 5 children's father? Why isn't she asking them for the money for the kids to go on the trip? If I was to take a wild guess, I'd say that this was one of those women who made bad choices in men in her past and had 5 kids with deadbeat dudes. Then, when she met this guy, the good guy, she was just using him to help her take care of those 5 kids that she had for somebody else and using him as a retirement plan. But it backfired on her, and he left.
Okay? I really need your help. I have never been kid-free, ever, since I started being 15 years ago.
And what does that have to do with the people you're begging for money from?
This would really help me out. And then all my kids would be able to go to Disneyland.
Not all my kids will be able to eat because we have no food. Not all my kids will have clothes because their clothes are worn out and we don't have the money for it. Not all my kids will have school supplies so they can pass all their classes. She's begging for money so that her kids, who are no one's responsibilities but her and the men that she made them with, so they can go on a trip to Disneyland so she could get a couple of days of freedom. This woman is making single women all over the world look bad. Unbelievable. So have you figured out what these 2 women have in common other than being single mothers? Here's the answer. Neither of these women went to the fathers of their children when something went wrong. Remember, the first young lady said that her and her eldest son got sick, so she called the good guy. She even called him after she admitted that they hadn't talked to each other in months. Why didn't she call her son's father? Either he's a deadbeat and he's not in his child's life, or she's keeping the child from him. And notice, she said she has children, not just one oldest child. She called the good guy because she said she needed medicine for her and the oldest son. Wouldn't you make the phone call to the child's father who's responsible for that child? Of course you would. Now the second woman. Once the father of the one daughter told her that he was going to take her to Disneyland, she told him no. Then, when he made a deal with her and told her if she comes up with $1,000, he would take the other 5 children. Now, truth be told, I'm pretty sure he did that because he knew she didn't have the money and she wasn't going to be able to get it from the other kids' fathers. Then what does she do? She asks all the strangers who are watching her TikTok for the money. So why didn't she ask her children's father for the $1,000? Because she also either made babies with deadbeat dudes or she's keeping the kids from their fathers. Both of these women do not hold the father of their children responsible when money is needed. They both rely on the good guy for financial support of children that those men did not make with them. This is a huge red flag. What good man with good moral values wants to get involved with a woman who either had babies with a couple of deadbeat dads or have driven those guys so bananas they don't want to have anything to do with her? Whatever these women were doing with those guys, eventually they'll do the same thing to you. And how much you want to bet they were being toxic and chaotic? The first woman admitted that she was toxic, and the second one, well, you can just look at her and tell she's nothing but walking chaos. The few women that I dated in my past went to their child's father when the child needed something, not me. If they didn't have a good relationship with their child's father, I never would have dated them. So if you're going to be bold enough to date a woman with a kid or 2 or 3, pay attention to the red flags, fellas. Pay attention to the red flags. If she goes to everybody else when her kid needs something, especially when there's money involved other than their kid's father, it's like Keith Sweat said in that song, something just ain't right. Hey, somebody had to tell you, and I love you, so it might as well be me. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to get notified when I post a new video. I post a new video every week. And in the meantime, will you please act right? My name is Raulh. See you in another video. So if you enjoyed this video, check out one of these 2 videos right here. I'm sure you'll enjoy them too. And if you like, you can visit my channel. I have plenty of videos there. Go ahead. Don't be scared.